I never imagined the person who would leave me to die in a blizzard would be the same brother who once pulled me from an icy pond when we were children. My name is Olivia Carter. I am 36 years old, and the night my life shattered began with a cup of coffee Ethan insisted on buying for me after a tense meeting about our late father's company. In my passenger seat sat an envelope that could remove him from management forever. 10 minutes later, my hands went numb, my vision blurred, and my car spun across black ice before crashing into a snowbank. The world became a storm of metal, shattered glass, and freezing air. I forced myself out of the car and tried to call for help, but my voice disappeared into the wind. Then Ethan's SUV stopped behind me. Relief flooded through me for one brief second. My older brother was here. He would save me. Instead, he checked my pulse, removed my phone from my pocket, took the envelope from my car, and walked away. Our eyes met before he disappeared into the white darkness. He knew I was alive, and he still left me there. A snowplow driver found me almost 40 minutes later. The following morning, I woke inside a hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and melted snow. Every breath hurt. My ribs ached, my throat burned, and my head felt heavy. Before I could understand where I was, Ethan appeared outside the room and casually asked a doctor, "So, how is she?" There was no fear in his voice. No panic. The doctor looked at him for a moment before answering. She wasn't injured by the blizzard alone. She was drugged. Later that morning, Dr. Nathan Brooks explained my injuries. I had a concussion, 2 cracked ribs, severe hypothermia, and a prescription sedative in my bloodstream. I had never taken that medication before. The bitter taste of the coffee immediately returned to my memory. He then revealed another detail that sent a chill through me. The snowplow driver had a dashboard camera. It captured a man stopping behind my vehicle, approaching me, entering my car, and leaving without calling emergency services. The license plate was clearly visible. As I lay there staring at the ceiling, childhood memories flooded my mind. Ethan had once been my hero. Every Christmas our father told the story of him saving me from thin ice. For 25 years, I believed that moment defined his character. Now I wondered if I had spent my entire life loving a version of him that never truly existed. The thought hurt more than my injuries because betrayal from family destroys the memories that once made you feel safe. By noon, detectives took my statement while flashes of memory returned. The coffee. His headlights behind me. His face above mine after the crash. One detail disturbed me more than anything else. Ethan had looked relieved before driving away. Relief meant he had expected something to happen. Relief meant he had already imagined a world where I never came back. I still didn't understand why he needed me gone, but deep inside, I knew this was bigger than a family argument. My survival had interrupted a plan that had been unfolding long before the blizzard arrived. And somewhere outside that hospital room, my brother was already trying to finish what he had started. What terrified me most was realizing the storm itself was never the enemy. Someone I trusted had quietly become more dangerous, and I had begun uncovering how he was willing to sacrifice. The afternoon brought another discovery that changed everything. A nurse named Grace returned my damaged smartwatch, and while it connected to the hospital network, several notifications appeared. Someone had accessed my company account while I was unconscious. A board resolution file had been opened, and a request to reset my corporate password had been sent from Ethan's office less than 15 minutes after he abandoned me in the snow. 2 hours later, Ethan arrived carrying flowers and a leather folder. Security allowed him inside because he claimed I needed company documents. Instead of confronting him, I decided to do something dangerous. I pretended my concussion was worse than it really was. I softened my voice and acted confused while keeping one hand near the emergency button hidden beneath my blanket. The moment he believed I was vulnerable, his shoulders relaxed. He opened the folder and revealed several documents. There was a temporary medical power of attorney, a voting proxy, and a statement saying I had voluntarily taken medication before driving. Every signature line had already been marked. "Just sign these," he said. "The company needs stability while you recover." I touched the pen but did not pick it up. Then I asked the question that made his expression change. "Did you put something in my coffee?" For a brief moment, he forgot to lie. Then he smiled and blamed my injuries. I continued pressing him. Was I supposed to fall asleep before I reached home? His eyes darkened. He leaned closer and whispered, "You were supposed to miss one meeting. That was all. Then you started driving like an idiot." My entire body went cold. He had not denied drugging me. He had corrected the outcome. Under my blanket, I quietly activated the recording feature on my watch. Ethan kept talking because he believed he still controlled the situation. He said employees would lose their jobs if I refused to cooperate. He insisted everyone would blame me for destroying the company. Then I said the words he never expected to hear. "You left me in the snow." Without thinking, he answered, "I thought you were already gone." As he hurried out, he accidentally left the leather folder behind. Inside, detectives discovered a transfer agreement selling my controlling shares to an unknown company for $1. It was impossible to dismiss that as a misunderstanding. Someone was waiting to take over Carter Logistics Group the moment Ethan succeeded. The blizzard was no longer an isolated crime. It was one piece of a much larger plan that had been unfolding for months, and I was only beginning to discover how deep his desperation truly ran. What frightened me most was realizing that if he had prepared this much already, someone else might be involved as well. That evening, my best friend Emma Collins arrived carrying an overnight bag, my laptop charger, and a look I had never seen on her face before. Emma had worked as the controller at Carter Logistics Group for 3 years, and normally she walked into every room with confidence. This time, she locked the hospital door before speaking. When I told her everything that had happened, she did not look shocked. She looked ashamed. She reached into her bag and pulled out a flash drive, bank statements, and copies of invoices carrying my electronic approval. I had never seen any of them. 6 months earlier, Ethan had instructed her to create a new vendor account called Silver Peak Industrial Services. The company supposedly billed us for repairs of facilities we did not even own. Whenever Emma questioned him, he claimed it was part of a confidential expansion project. At first, she believed him. Then the amounts kept growing. $48,000. $72,000. $95,000. Eventually the payments reached more than $600,000. Emma secretly copied everything because her instincts told her something was wrong. When she confronted Ethan 2 days before the blizzard, he asked a strange question. He wanted to know whether I had updated my estate plan. Then he calmly said, "After Friday, Olivia won't be blocking anything anymore." Victoria arrived with legal pads instead of sympathy. She immediately separated facts from assumptions. The sedative connected Ethan to the attack. The dashboard footage proved he abandoned me. The company records suggested fraud. But she warned us that suspicion alone would not stop him from emptying the company accounts before we could act. Then she uncovered something even worse. The transfer agreement Ethan left behind named a company called Ironbridge Capital Partners. Victoria recognized it immediately. It was a distressed investment firm that loaned money to desperate executives. According to her research, Ethan had promised them future control of Carter Logistics Group in exchange for a private loan. If he failed to deliver my shares within 10 days, they could financially destroy him. Suddenly everything made sense. The blizzard had not created his desperation. It had simply given him an opportunity to solve it. Victoria proposed a strategy that required patience. Instead of publicly exposing him, we would let him believe his lies were working. Emmer would return to work and act as though I trusted his story. Victoria would quietly preserve every financial record. Detective Reynolds would pursue search warrants without alerting him. For the next 2 days, my hospital room became a command center. Victoria traced the fraudulent payments through multiple accounts and discovered Ethan had been using company money to cover personal loans, a luxury apartment, and losses from a secret real estate investment that had collapsed months earlier. Emmer preserved every accounting record while Detective Sophia Reynolds quietly obtained search warrants for Ethan's SUV, phone records, and financial accounts. The results were devastating. Police found the prescription bottle containing the same sedative that appeared in my bloodstream hidden beneath the driver's seat of his SUV. Several tablets were missing. My stolen phone and the original audit envelope were locked inside a rear storage compartment. Even with all that evidence, detectives wanted him to keep talking before making an arrest because they believed his own words would become the strongest proof against him. With Detective Reynolds' approval, I sent him a message from a replacement phone. I wrote only one sentence. I don't want to destroy the company. Let's solve this privately. He responded within a minute. We agreed to meet in a small consultation room on the 4th floor of the hospital. The trap was finally ready. Victoria waited nearby with documents. Detective Reynolds and another officer remained outside the room. Emmer stayed hidden behind a divider. My phone rested face down beside a glass of water, recording everything. When Ethan entered, he looked completely relaxed. He carried another copy of the voting proxy and wore the expression of a loving older brother. He sat down and immediately started talking about the company. According to him, the board was nervous, the bank was asking questions, and employees would suffer if I delayed any longer. Then he pushed the papers toward me. Sign these, he said softly. We can make all of this disappear. I stared at him for several seconds. What happens if I refuse? I asked. His expression hardened immediately. Then everyone loses. You lose your reputation. The company collapses. Hundreds of people suffer because you refuse to be reasonable. I lowered my eyes and pretended to hesitate. What about Silver Peak? I asked. He instantly realized Emmer had spoken to me. Panic flashed across his face before arrogance returned. I asked the question that mattered most. You drugged me because they trusted me more. He sighed with irritation. I needed you out of Monday's meeting. The dose wasn't supposed to cause a crash. My chest tightened. Then why did you leave me in the snow? He looked away for a moment. Because everything was already ruined. If I called an ambulance, they would test your blood and start asking questions. That was the moment everything ended. Emmer stepped out from behind the divider. Victoria opened the door, followed by Detective Reynolds. Ethan froze. His eyes darted toward the recording phone beside my glass of water. Every bit of color disappeared from his face. You set me up, he whispered. I slowly stood despite the pain in my ribs. No, I answered. I gave you one final chance to tell the truth. You did this to yourself. Ethan's arrest did not end the crisis. In many ways, it was only the beginning. Within hours, Rumors spread throughout Carter Logistics Group. Employees whispered in hallways, customers called for explanations, and lenders began asking difficult questions. His attorney immediately released a statement claiming Ethan had been manipulated into making emotional comments while trying to help his injured sister. The pressure intensified quickly. 2 board members called my hospital room and suggested I temporarily surrender my voting authority to avoid embarrassing the company publicly. Then my mother called. Her voice trembled as she asked me not to destroy our family over what she described as one terrible mistake. Hearing those words hurt more than I expected. One terrible mistake did not involve sedatives, forged messages, stolen evidence, shell companies, and plans built around someone else's death. A mistake could be forgiven. What Ethan had done required planning, patience, and repeated decisions. He had chosen every step deliberately. For days later, I was discharged from the hospital wearing a rib brace beneath my coat. Instead of going home, I went directly to Carter Logistics Group for an emergency board meeting. Emma walked beside me while Victoria carried several binders full of evidence. Even after everything, my hands shook as I entered the building because this was the company my father had built from nothing. His attorney immediately attacked my credibility. He argued that my injuries and medications made me unreliable. Fortunately, Dr. Nathan Brooks had anticipated this. He provided a written statement confirming that I was mentally competent and had never been prescribed the sedative found in my bloodstream. Victoria then presented the evidence one piece at a time. She displayed the Silver Peak invoices, banking records, server logs, and the $1 transfer agreement. Emma explained Ethan's order to erase the vendor history before Monday's audit. Our bank representative confirmed that disputed funds had already been frozen. Ethan interrupted repeatedly. He called Emma a disgruntled employee. He accused Victoria of fabricating evidence. He even described me as an unstable sister seeking revenge. Then the board chair played a short clip from the hospital recording. "I needed you out of Monday's meeting." The room fell silent. But the biggest surprise came from our father's attorney. He arrived carrying a sealed letter none of us knew existed. According to him, our father had instructed that it be opened only if either sibling challenged the company's leadership structure. As he read the letter aloud, every person in the room listened carefully. Our father explained that leadership required stewardship, not entitlement. Years earlier, he had discovered smaller unauthorized withdrawals made by Ethan and had forgiven him once under the condition that it never happened again. Then came the sentence that seemed to freeze Ethan completely. Olivia protects what other people depend on. Ethan protects whatever he believes belongs to him. I felt tears gathering in my eyes because suddenly everything made sense. Our father had seen warning signs long before I did. He had hoped Ethan would change. Instead, those behaviors had simply grown larger over time. When the meeting ended, I walked outside expecting angry employees. Instead, a warehouse supervisor thanked Emma and me for saving payroll before the accounts were drained. More employees joined him. The company Ethan claimed would collapse without him was still operating because honest people had been carrying it all along. That afternoon, I signed a new estate plan that permanently removed Ethan from inheriting anything connected to my future. Then I created an emergency employee support fund using recovered money. It was not revenge. Revenge would have destroyed everything. I chose something else entirely. For the first time since the blizzard, I felt free. But one final battle remained ahead. Ethan still had to face a courtroom, and there he would discover that surviving the storm had only been the beginning of his punishment. The truth he spent months trying to bury was finally ready to bury him instead. The toxicology report connected him to the sedative. The dashboard camera showed him abandoning me in the blizzard. My stolen phone contained forged messages he had sent while I was unconscious. Financial records linked him directly to fraudulent accounts. The more investigators uncovered, the smaller his world became. When the trial finally began, the courtroom felt colder than the night of the storm itself. I sat beside Emma and Victoria while Detective Sophia Reynolds organized evidence for the prosecution. Across the room, Ethan looked exhausted. For the first time in his life, he could not manipulate anyone around him. The snowplow driver testified first. He described seeing my body almost disappear beneath fresh snow while Ethan's SUV drove away. Dr. Nathan Brooks testified next and explained that another 30 minutes of exposure could have killed me. Then Detective Reynolds presented the messages Ethan sent from my phone before any doctor had even examined me. Victoria then explained how Ethan used company money to cover secret debts and personal failures. Emma testified about his instructions to erase financial records. Piece by piece, his entire scheme collapsed in front of everyone watching. When my turn arrived, I walked slowly to the witness stand. My ribs had healed months earlier, but some wounds did not disappear that easily. I looked directly at Ethan before speaking. I told the court about the brother who once rescued me from a frozen pond and the man who later abandoned me in a blizzard. I explained that I was not asking the judge to punish the child I remembered. I was asking her to hold an adult accountable for choosing money over a human life. A few weeks later, he accepted a plea agreement. He pleaded guilty to multiple felony charges involving assault, reckless endangerment, theft, evidence tampering, and financial fraud. The court sentenced him to prison, ordered restitution, and permanently restricted his ability to hold leadership positions in businesses after his release. Before imposing the sentence, the judge said something that left everyone silent. That sentence affected my mother the most. For months, she had minimized everything by calling it a terrible mistake. Hearing a judge describe his actions clearly finally shattered her denial. After the hearing, she approached me with tears in her eyes and apologized. I told her forgiveness could not be demanded or rushed. Trust would have to be rebuilt through actions, not words. That conversation was painful, but it was necessary. Meanwhile, Carter Logistics Group slowly recovered. We regained most of the stolen money, kept every employee, and promoted Emma to Chief Financial Officer. Victoria joined our audit committee, and new safeguards protected the company from future abuse. A year after the blizzard, I understood something I never could have imagined while lying unconscious in the snow. The greatest victory was not Ethan going to prison. It was reclaiming a life that no longer revolved around protecting someone who kept hurting everyone around him. For decades, I had confused loyalty with love. I believed standing beside family no matter what was a sign of strength. In reality, unconditional protection had allowed his behavior to grow unchecked. Carter Logistics Group was stronger than ever. We implemented new financial safeguards, created anonymous reporting systems for employees, and established independent oversight for every major decision. The emergency winter rescue program we funded also expanded faster than expected. Several stranded drivers had already been helped during severe weather conditions, and every successful rescue reminded me why the company existed in the first place. One afternoon, I received a letter from Ethan. I stared at the envelope for several minutes before opening it. Part of me expected another excuse or another attempt to blame everyone else. Instead, it contained only a few sentences. He wrote that prison had given him time to think, and that he finally understood he had spent his entire life competing against me instead of building his own future. There was no request for forgiveness. There was no demand for sympathy. I folded the letter and placed it inside a drawer. Some people expect dramatic reconciliation after betrayal. Real life rarely works that way. Healing is quieter. It happens through boundaries, consistency, and choosing peace every single day. I did not hate Ethan anymore. Hate would have kept him connected to my life forever. Instead, I accepted that accountability and forgiveness are two different things. My relationship with my mother also slowly improved. She stopped defending him and started confronting the painful truth that years of excuses had contributed to who he became. Trust did not return overnight, but honesty finally entered our conversations. For the first time in years, we spoke without pretending everything was normal. People often ask whether I got revenge on my brother. The answer is simpler than they expect. I did not destroy him. I did not dedicate my life to making him suffer. I exposed the truth and refused to save him from the consequences of his own decisions. Sometimes that is the most powerful form of justice. Family betrayal hurts differently because it steals memories along with trust. But surviving it teaches an important lesson. Sharing blood with someone does not give them unlimited access to your life, your peace, or your future. Love should never require silence in the face of harm. The night Ethan left me in the blizzard, he believed the storm would bury every secret he had hidden for years. Instead, the storm uncovered everything. It revealed his greed, his resentment, and the dangerous lengths he was willing to go to for control. More importantly, it revealed my own strength. Today, I no longer define myself as a victim who survived a blizzard. I define myself as a woman who refused to disappear. The storm taught me that surviving betrayal is not about becoming harder. It is about becoming wiser, setting boundaries, and never allowing fear to decide your future ever again either. If this story moved you, remember this: protecting the truth is sometimes the greatest act of self-love. Share your thoughts below. What would you have done if someone you trusted chose power over your life? And if this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more powerful emotional stories about courage, survival, and justice.